Hi guys, cheers for checking out this episode. So, the Dyna Storm, and straight away probably a lot of you can tell there's not a lot of the Dyna Storm left. Yeah, so because this is going to be getting run at the Lakeland Classic, and because of how rare and hard and expensive the parts are for the Dyna Storm, I wanted to replace what I could that was going to potentially break, be hard to find. But then also I did want to do a custom build with it anyway. Like I said in my early video, this is my ultimate Tamiya to have. Everyone will have their own, but for me it was a Dyna Storm purely down to the looks. I just think it looks a really nice buggy. I love the long shocks up front. So off the bat, what have we changed? Pretty much everything. I would say we're at sort of like 90%, and I'm pretty sure you could even change everything and run a Dyna Storm with no original parts. It would need a little bit of work, and I probably will look into it after the Lakeland Classic, but this is all ready to run. So this Sunday it's going to get its first run, so we'll be able to see how it's going, how it is. But that's it all. So you can pretty much see that there isn't a great deal Tamiya left on it. The gearbox, so the actual gearbox itself, the rear motor mount, drive shafts and the hexes, I think that is all that's original. Rear shock mount, but only because I'll come to that I'll come to that in a moment. So that's it. So we'll get the body shell off, and I'll go through what's been changed and by who, etc. I'll put a link in the description for all the parts where you can get them from. So if you're interested, you can just go on there. But that's it all. So it's not, I'm not 100%, but for the time scale that I've got getting this thing done. So obviously the battery mount is a bit of a compromise. It works, it does, but it's not ideal. It's not what I want, but beggars can't be choosers. So straight off the bat, the body shell and the wing. So this is from Penguin, and yeah, absolutely fine. Cut lines were all where they needed to be, and sprayed it up myself, as you can tell, and just gave it a relatively straightforward paint job. I need to do the bright, doesn't show up on the camera, but this is like a fluorescent orange. It's just easy for me to see when it's out on the track. The old eyes aren't the best. So body and wing, they've been done. So we'll start from the main gubbins. So all the carbon, so basically the chassis, so the whole chassis, the top deck, the battery brace, the front shock tower, the rear, but it's not fitted, and the rear motor plate, the rear motor, I call it a rear motor plate. That was all from Fiberlight. It's all just on their system, so you can just go on, you can just order it. It's something that I will be changing. Once I know what I want, I'll be contacting Nick Walker, because things like these bits aren't needed. You could maybe trim a little bit out of the back, but I do want to have a better way of mounting the battery. So that'll be getting changed. The front shock tower will stay. The rear shock tower, I've not been able to fit it purely for the fact that this little bracket just in here, so that little bracket that goes in there fixes onto the rear motor, the front of the gearbox, and goes onto the rear of the bulkhead. So with the shock tower being thicker, obviously because this isn't plastic anymore, that's an alloy part, the hole didn't line up, and I didn't want to force it because it was potentially like a good 1/2 mil out, maybe a little bit more. So I've got the standard one back on it for now. Moving on to the blue bling, the TRF style. the look that I wanted. So you've got your front bulkhead and the little camber plate. I suppose it's a camber plate. Your rear arm hangers, and there's a little bracket just in there. The rear motor plate or motor guard bolts onto, and obviously that part in there. And the front C-hubs. So our front C-hubs just in there. That was all from Custom RC Parts. Anyone that knows the Tamiyas will probably know everything he does. He does a lot, especially for the Manta Ray. So I just contacted him, asked him what he had. Ideally, ultimately I did want the front bulkhead. He had a full kit in the sort of TRF style blue. So I had that. So that was all changed. Plastic parts that are on there. So on eBay I found Addictive RC. So I was able to get a front bumper. So I can keep the original one. So I've got the front bumper, all the steering parts. So the 2 steering arms there and there, and the rear bulkhead. It's not the easiest thing to see, but they're all from Addictive RC, and the rear spur gear cover, which is quite nice. So I mean, obviously the original one probably still won't get battered, but like I say, I want to keep as much as I can. And it still has the little piece just on here, so you can get to your slipper clutch. You do need the little, I think it's a 10mm rubber bit, just so when it goes, when you put that on, to cover the slipper adapter. It's got something to bite into, so you just need to push it, give it a twist. But yeah, it's all nice stuff. Everything fitted absolutely fine. Did have a slight issue. The little notches in here, obviously they're a 3D printed part, so they're aftermarket. The cab, the chassis is aftermarket. So just some little bits that weren't quite as easy to fit as they needed to be. But yeah, absolutely great. I've found a set of blue servo mounts, so I'm going to get them ordered, but again, they won't be getting swapped out till later on. So that's it for the plastic. Extra speed. So extra speed, I've got the front steering knuckles, is that what you call them? I call them knuckles. And the rear hubs. These are astute, super astute parts. So the rear hubs are the same as far as I can tell, but these, I don't know if there's a slight difference, but everything, it fitted, went in there nicely. So they're on. The arms, obviously we've got the white Derlin arms. These are from Lee Broadhurst Racing. So these aren't going to break in any time. They'll probably outlive the rest of the car, to be honest. What else have we got? So Tony's Tamiya Parts. I went onto his website because I was going down the TRF Tamiya route. I wanted their TRF style shocks, so we've gone for the shocks front and rear. I've got rears up front and rears at the rear, obviously. They've got the blue in there. They've got the blue cup on the bottom. I went for the spring kit. They don't come with springs. I can't remember if they come with a set of springs, but I ordered the spring kit, so you basically got soft, medium and hard to play around with settings. And I've just started off 400 weight oil up front, 350 in the rear, and it's a good base. We'll see how it goes. Obviously it's different once the battery's in. And while I was on the website, I wanted the turnbuckles in blue. So we've got the blue turnbuckles on the steering and on the back. And then obviously I've gone for Schumacher ball sockets and ball studs and ball sockets all round. So your pivot pins on the rear. So the rear pivot pin, that's the standard part. You could probably get your E-clip on there. However, nicely these come with, can't quite see it, but just in this part, point it out, try and point it out. So just in there, there's a little grub screw. So you just nip that up gently. That'll hold that in, so that won't be coming out. Oh yeah, they have a little plate on here. I don't know if it'd actually be needed with these being alloy. You could probably do away with it. But then you'd have to find some different size pins for the rear. The rear pins going through the rear of the arm, they're the standard ones again as well. They just need the E-clips putting on the back. I just need to find some spares. And your front pivot pins up onto the front bulkhead. So again, they're the same. They've got a little grub screw just there. So you put your E-clip on there, push them in, that holds them in. And only issue I had was pivot pins going through the front. So as you can see, this has got a nut on both sides. So basically I reached out to my good friend Kevin Fenrich, gave him some measurements, told him what I wanted, and he delivered. And while I was onto him, obviously the wing mount, so the wing mount that I've got on there, that's one of his that he makes, along with his wing buttons. So that meant that I didn't have to use the kit ones, and the wire was just, I think it was 2mm piano wire, just by a length that's a little bit more than what you need. And then I just copied it as I moved it all about. But that's it. So this weekend will be its first run. Yeah, looking forward to running it. So motor wise, I've got a 10.5. I'm probably going to put a 13.5 in it. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes with this one. And obviously we've got the Hobby Wing XR10 Pro ESC, which is what I run in most of my cars. And then we've got the Savox SC1258 servo. Again, brilliant servos. Never had any of these fail. Servo save we've got on, it's an X-ray. I can't remember the part number. I'll try and find it, but they're not cheap, these servo savers. They're about £18, but they're absolutely brilliant. You don't get any slop through into your steering. And like I say, running these, I've never broken a servo yet on any of the cars that I've run. And I've had some pretty horrific accidents, to be honest. But that's it. So just a look at what we've got. So we've got a nice pristine carbon chassis. Obviously there's no under tray, there's no protection on this. It's just going to get run because that's how it's intended. Side pods. So these are another thing that are stock, but when I go and get the new chassis and carbon bits made, I'm going to send off some bits to Nick and ask him to look into something, see if it's possible, which is basically just having the chassis follow that line out a bit more, and then I can just get Steve at Penguin to get some Lexan to go along the side that's just got a 90-degree bend, fix it onto the side, and then the body will have something to clip into. And yeah, that's it. So bearings, full bearing kit from RC Bearings. And yeah, like I say, gearbox, Wrench Dog does a gearbox that allows you to run a more modern setup. I think it's out of the new style Super Astute, so you can run the ball or the gear diff slipper. I can't remember what the slipper's out of, but I think it's one that's still readily available. So I'll be looking to get one of his gearboxes, getting all the bits that I need to run it, and then drive shafts. And then yeah, you've pretty much got a non-Tamiya Dyna Storm. So cost-wise, I wouldn't like to know what I've spent on it, but to be honest, what you're going to pay for a Dyna Storm, if you want one for a runner, I think the cost-wise is pretty much what you're going to pay for a nice shelfer at the moment. Although there's a couple on eBay I've seen, they're not selling at the prices, but yeah, if all the parts were sort of like 400 or 500 quid, it'll probably be a bit more once you factor in a gearbox. But yeah, so that's it. So hope you've all enjoyed a look at my new baby, and I can't wait to get this out on the track. And we'll see how we do in the A final. Oh, quickly, wheels. So Tony's Tamiya parts again as well. You can still get the Star Dish wheels fronts and rears. So I've got 3 sets of these, so I can run whatever. And also I've got a set of JC Racing's Astute as backup, just in case I do need any others. But at the moment, I've got mini spikes, ballistic buggy, greens, so we should be good to go. We're racing on grass, so in a few weeks' time, keep your eyes peeled, see how we get on at the Lakeland Classic. But that's it for me, and as always, take care. Cheers, guys.